everybody. Welcome to Queued Up. With me, Tad, aka Davis Tadlock, Mr. Tumbleweed, aka Michael Kepley, Ninja, the Eli, Mr. Hensley himself.
Something like that.
And myself, CJ, Pathfinder Collins. How we doing, Eli? How was the weekend? What was the most exciting thing you watched this weekend?
Well, I was casting Halo, so I'm biased towards Halo. But what's funny is mid-cast, I've got the CS finals on my other monitor with the TFT finals as well. So I was kind of maybe multitasking more than I should while working. Hopefully my employer is not watching this. But yeah, there's just so much excitement this weekend. Halo was most excited for me, though.
I love that. Cool. Well, today we're talking all kinds of different stuff. We're going to jump into some Call of Duty right off the bat. Then we're going to jump into Counter-Strike. We're going to talk some Halo. Then we're going to talk some League of Legends. And then we're going to hit TFT. And then we're going to read the comments and talk about whatever you want to. So go down there, throw it in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking. But first, Call of Duty, and the topic, the name of choice is OpTic Gaming. They win their first series of the stage. Very crazy. 3-1 against a not good Gorillas team. Kepley, did you watch the match? Tell me about it.
I watched it, cheering the green wall on the whole time. So them versus Gorillas. It's nice to see that the respawn games went very smooth for us, right? Search and Destroy, we did lose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we did lose that. But, I think, I'm not a Call of Duty expert by any means. That's what you guys are for. But, 3 out of 5 of the game modes are respawn. So if you're going to pick 3, if you're going to pick something to be good at respawn, right? And you can throw the search. So it seemed like that's okay from a fundamental standpoint. LA Thieves, right? We had them first in the weekend. We did lose. But I thought there were some moments, right? Little glimpses of hope there against, arguably the best team in the league. So it's nice to see that it is kind of on an upward trend. But I don't want to foreshadow the future conversation, but maybe it's not an uphill trend, So, but we'll see. Great games overall, though.
Yep. Davis, worst player and best player on OpTic right now, based off of that series.
There's literally only one answer.
I would say the best player is probably Dashy, and the worst player, in my opinion, is Kenny. Dashy's been one of the best players on the team for a while now, and I think he is probably the pillar that holds the team together, even though they have not been performing well. Obviously, somewhere that they can build on, but we'll see what happens.
I'm surprised you picked Dashy, man. Pred was popping off this weekend.
Yeah, Pred looked good in that last hard point. I mean, he looked good in the first hard point, but that last hard point, he was the only one that was almost double positive in it. He definitely carried him through. I think if they lose that map to that hard point, which it was close.
Yeah, it was really close.
It was within 60 points, which is one good rotation. And there were some times in that map 4 that they did not look good. They were behind on the rotations, but it's kind of like, I think there were moments of that old OpTic genre where like they'd find themselves in a bad spot and they could kind of slay through it. But it was not good. But Eli, what's the most recent news? What's going on with the OpTic roster?
Yeah, so in the match against LA Thieves, a man named Kenny made a world record. Not a world record that you want to make, but the lowest KD in recorded history, perhaps in all of gaming. And that's tough. I mean, it's against the number 1 team, and you're on a struggling team. It's going to happen. But the result of that, Kenny is no longer with OpTic. At the time of recording, this is kind of breaking news. And the word on the street is they're picking up Skies, former world champion back in 2023, on the New York Subliners, now Cloud9. So, yeah, no more Kenny. Maybe that will solve some of the issues that OpTic has been having. It was very clear they're having some type of internal struggles. To me, it just felt from the outside looking in that there was some type of vibe issue, and maybe this will solve that. We'll see.
Absolutely. Kepley, timing of this roster change. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What do you think?
Is it ever? I mean, it can never be too soon, right? So, I mean, it does kind of stink. You're going into your own major, right?
Yeah,
that you're
sure.
hosting. You're doing this big roster change, but something had to change for the roster. And OpTic is all about family, but Hex talked about it in his vlog that winning is a core thing that makes all the other stuff happen behind the scenes. So, to see Kenny have that poor performance is a little shocking, right? Because Kenny's a fantastic player. Won a couple rings now on different teams. So the fact that they are going to change going into their major, little shocking. But hopefully it's for a good reason, right? Maybe it is Skies because his contract's coming up. I've seen on Reddit, we've only had like 40 minutes to to figure this out, but I've seen on Reddit like Huke might be an option. I'm not as familiar with like the free agent side of Call of Duty, but there's got to be some good talent out there. Even maybe I saw someone called like Numerated or something like that, who's like an up and comer that people are talking about. So it'd be great to see something there. But who's going to be that in-game leader? Because I feel like it's been Kenny for a while now.
It has.
That's the role you got to fill.
Yeah. Davis. Okay. So Sky's a little bit of a veteran to the space, been around for a little while, been doing some things. Is an OpTic kind of fanboy in his own. He's actually in his YouTube bio. It was like, "Yo, I will play for OpTic Gaming one day." He's getting his opportunity to do so. But when you look at the market and you look at other ARs and who he's going to compete against, do you think he's going to be able to stand up to the pressure of like that opportunity in front of him?
I truly do. I mean, Skies is a great player, as you mentioned earlier, a previous world champion. He has a lot of experience under his belt, and he's played in some of the biggest stages that you can play in. So I think that he definitely has the potential to really step up and be a great player for them. I also think that it's a good change because if you look at their team and just the amount of superstars that they have, I think Skies is maybe in the public's eye, maybe a level below them, and I think that he can definitely step in and be like a glue man for their team instead of coming in and trying to be the overall star.
Hmm. Eli, any thoughts on this roster change? Do you like it? Do you hate it?
I like what Davis had to say about that. I mean, it makes sense with if you have 4 absolute super galactic stars on the roster, it's like, is anybody really that hungry anymore? Like, maybe they're not finding the same motivation they used to find on previous rosters. And then you pick up somebody like Skies, up and coming talent, trying to prove himself, maybe going to bring some energy and breathe some life into this squad. He's been reading the articles on Reddit about this OpTic squad too, and he's like, I want to be the guy that changes that, and he's got a chance to. I mean, the timing is definitely rough. I mean, he hasn't had a chance to get tournament reps with this squad until it's going to matter the most. So that'll be interesting to see how they like cram leading up to this tournament. But I can only see an upside, I think, because as low as they were, there wasn't much lower to go. So we'll see if Skies can take them to the skies.
Yeah, and ultimately, when you look at it too, there's a little bit of weird light on this this whole situation because the OpTic Major is coming up. It's going to be in Texas. If you're going to Dallas this weekend, you're going to get to see this new roster as you look at it. But you're also going to get to see the ring ceremony. So you're going to get to see the world champs of last year, which was Kenny, Pred, Dashy, and Shotzi, kind of up there. So Kenny will be there for this ring ceremony. He's going to get to see the OpTic roster and see how they perform this weekend, and ultimately kind of still be in that OpTic family vibe. But I think the rumors on the internet right now is, are they going to get booed? Because, I mean, they may have taken this series off of a bad Gorilla Mates, but that's what it was. It was a series off of a bad Gorilla Mates. Like, when you put them up against somebody else, maybe a Cloud9, maybe a FaZe, maybe 100 Thieves, any of these guys, it's like, are they really going to be able to do anything that weekend with this new roster in this new environment? Eli, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. What makes it worse is Skies was the sub for Gorilla Mates. So it's like the one team you could beat, you're picking up their substitute player. I don't know. When you think about it that way, it sounds faded, but at the same time, we know that Skies is better than just a substitute. He's got a long history, so I don't know. You make a good point though. It's like there's still a lot of question marks. Like,
Yeah.
this one move, is it going to just be a lateral move? Are they still going to have the same issues that we've seen them have this entire time, or is this going to really make a difference and completely change the mold of their team? It's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an OpTic fan, and I think that me as an OpTic fan looking at it, it's like, just seems ill-timed. Like, you know, obviously, I think the rumor on the street is, and I'll let you talk to this, Kepley, is the fact that they didn't have the rings in time. So it's just odd timing for them to be able to do this. And so,
Yeah, Hex talked about it in his vlog. Link to that probably in the comments or something. But you know, he posted that it was either yesterday or 2 days ago. And he spoke to that they would have loved to do the ring ceremony sooner. Like, in his opinion, the players should have got the rings when they won the damn thing.
Yeah,
right.
sure.
But they didn't have the rings for whatever reason, so they have them now. So the ring ceremony is meant to celebrate what that roster was, what it's not today. Because you know, they are in a lot of turmoil, but they did achieve that. They did win. So you're gonna get your rings, right? Like, I imagine if I won the Super Bowl or anything else, I'd want my ring, my trophy, whatever, at some point. So I think it's good. I don't want to go back on topics, but I don't agree with the mindset that Skies or any player in the league, right? Maybe the exception is like a simp, right? Is that any player's an upgrade, right? Because this is a world champ roster. So like Kenny's in a downfall, but that's a great player, right? So it's hard to fill those shoes, right? It's the same thing as like, you know, Kenny stepping into Scump shoes, right? It's going to be tough to fill like a GOAT top 5 type player. Kenny, he's not top 5 probably in anyone's bench, but he's got to be up there, right? Top 10, top 15. He's got a couple rings. So the roster, I don't know. They're just going to have to go back to the drawing board and see what works for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Davis, you played in the CCL, so tell me a little bit about you know, the pros play in Money 8, so they all know each other. They'll kind of play with each other. They're going to get a chance to see Skies in these environments. Do you think Skies is going to be able to adapt and be able to play like the OpTic setups within the first couple days? Do you think it's just going to be a feel thing?
I definitely think for this major, it's going to be a feel thing. Getting used to how these different players play. Obviously, he's definitely played with them in eights, but not in a true team where they can develop strategy and figure out the position he actually needs to be in. So honestly, I do see this major being a little bit rough in that perspective if they're not able to outslay their enemies and really just dominate in that fashion. But Skies is a good player. I think he'll be able to fill it out pretty good, but definitely not as solidified as it will be in the future.
Do you think the pressure follows that? Because when you're part of OpTic, right? Like it's not like being in any other team, right? The only thing you can even get equal to
They
is
family.
FaZe. Yeah, well, it's not only if they're family, but I mean, you have the most people watching you, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna feel the most pressure because of that green wall vibe, right? I mean, no offense to the other teams, but they haven't put the effort into content that an OpTic or a FaZe has, right? So you get a huge following, and with that has to come some innate pressure.
Yeah, I definitely think there's pressure there, but I think to kind of touch back earlier to talk about how Skies is an OpTic fan, I truly think that he's going to take a lot of advantage of this opportunity that he's been given and play the role that he needs to play. And maybe it doesn't mean he needs to slay out and drop a double positive KD. Whatever he needs to do, I think he's happy to do it, and it's just figuring out what that is really.
I think this is like what the good news for them is Hex is a very open-minded owner and manager, and he actually pays attention. So I think that from his perspective, this probably isn't just a short-term band-aid, right? Like he's probably thinking further ahead. Maybe they don't figure it out at this major, but it's still gonna hopefully improve the team in a way that will be more obvious for future tournaments as well. So it's like I think Hex is open-minded enough to be like, okay, if they don't pop off and go crazy, like we'll still give them time to cook in the kitchen and see if it's a good move long term as well.
Yeah. Keeping of other teams and roster changes, the Falcons dropped their head coach this weekend. It was on Twitter. Kepley, what do we think about coaches in Call of Duty and their impact and what they're doing? And is this change enough to be able to try and do anything with this Falcons roster, who's honestly worse than OpTic right now?
It's going to be tough for me to speak to because I don't truly understand the full impact that coaches have in Call of Duty.
Sure.
So if I just think about it from a different sense, right? I mean, that's going to be the foundation of your strategy. Falcons seems like they're a bunch of new players, right? Me just getting back into CDL, like I don't know any of their names.
Sure.
So it seems like maybe their strategies aren't as evolved. Maybe they're not, adapting as well as they need to. So I'm okay with some change, but I don't like that if you have a young roster, you have, they're all new players. I assume the coach, right? I don't know his name, but I assume that the coach is somewhat new as well because the rest of the roster seems new. You got to give them time to cook a little bit. And this is my bias from the OpTic side of me coming in where it is family, right? You got to give some time. You got to have the goods with the lows, right? If you can't love me at my worst, you can't love me at my best.
That's right.
So just dropping someone just like that right before a major, that definitely doesn't help your team when it's like the core guy driving the strategies. But maybe there's some behind the scenes impact or situations that I'm just not familiar with.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this a little bit. I used to coach a pro Halo team, HCS season 1 and 2, and I think the coach definitely has a big impact on the team because you're the one that's with them in scrims every day. You're kind of like the outside looking in, but I don't think that changing out the coach in this case is going to be enough of a fix. Also, this coach, his name by the way is Lucid, and before he coached this team, they were literal nobodies, and then he coached them up, and they were starting to win challenger competitions. So it's like he made measurable impact on this specific squad, and it's like he might have been the best thing going for this team, and now they just take him out of the picture. It almost feels like there was some type of internal turmoil that he became the scapegoat for their bad performance. Maybe the players are telling the manager, oh, we just suck because our coach sucks. But then there's also the other fact, like we're not in the room with him. We don't know if he's like not caring anymore and he's checked out and he's in the corner playing League of Legends instead of watching the team actually scrim. So I don't know. There's a lot of different reasons for this. I don't think it's going to be enough of a difference maker.
Yeah. For those who don't know, the Falcons' whole brand is a Saudi brand. And so the goal with the Saudis was these are all Saudi players. And the interesting thing about Saudi players is they came from an environment where they weren't allowed to play respawns until recently. For whatever reason, their game over there is only search and destroy. That's why they've been winning their search and destroys. They have a 60% win rate on their S&Ds. and almost zero, actually exactly 0 on the respawns because they don't have as many reps in the controls and the hard points, so they just haven't
I
been
did not
playing
know
those as
that.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that whole new roster is trying to figure out respawn, and that's why they've been unsuccessful. Because when you lose those 3 and win your S&D, you still lose, right?
Right,
yeah.
You have to win a respawn in order to win in Call of Duty, and they just haven't been able to do that. And ultimately, it's like an experiment to try and, the Falcons is a brand that wants to be able to prop up their own nationality. I support that. I think
Yeah.
that's great. They have some money to do it. They want to give it a shot. Davis, you played a little bit in the CCL. Tell me, coaching involvement, is it going to be enough of an impact? Do you think that can change anything? I can speak to it as well, so go ahead.
Personally, I don't think the coaching was the issue in this point.
Mhm.
Kind of like we touched earlier, they don't really play respawn. I really think it's a problem with the players just not being ready to compete into the CDL.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at these players that go from challengers into the CDL, it's really hard to become a name that stays around for a long time. And with this whole team being new, I just think it was a big ask to come into this league and be asked to perform and win games like they are. And kind of like Eli said, I think the coach has become a scapegoat for their poor performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think that's true. And it's also, Call of Duty is not a coach where the team, the coaches in the comms with them in the games at all. It's just in between the games. So it's more of a mindset coach. What should you do? And a lot of the shots that happen inside the game are so instinctual, and like, when do you rotate? And you kind of have to teach that IGL to really call all the shots. I mean, it's so fast that, it's a game of milliseconds. If you lose that one rotation or whatever, you lose the whole game. And so I think that the coach in Call of Duty, I wish it had a bigger role. I think it's a very small role now, and it's kind of playing, babysitter, make sure you show up to practice and you're doing the right things. And a lot of times they don't even really hold them accountable to that. It's been my experience watching it. There's a couple exceptions. But
Now watching Counter-Strike, my whole perspective on coaches has changed because I love the coaches on stage with them, right?
Yeah,
They're-
absolutely.
Yeah, they're in their ears between rounds. I think that would
Totally.
be great for other esports to look into.
I love that. I also love it from like at all levels. I think it's a good thing to get the coaches more involved because you see it. It's like in a professional basketball game, kind of coaching going that direction. But hopefully this coach is able to find other opportunities. I hate that they lost their job. I think that sucks. But hopefully, I don't know what the change is going to be for the Falcons roster, but we'll see. As we come up, the LAN coming up this weekend, we're going to look at the bracket. So we're going to look at the winners rounds right now. You've got LA Thieves versus Breach in our first match. Those teams have played, actually, no, they played FaZe recently, but Breach looked good when they played FaZe. So I'm not sure how that one looks out. Go ahead, Davis. What do you think about that matchup?
I do think, like you said, Breach did look good, but I think Thieves is just going to be too much. Thieves has been on fire recently, and I expect them to do really well in this major, and I think they'll blow through this round 1.
Yep.
I don't need to explain it, Thieves. I mean,
There you go.
it's
Eli?
up.
I think Breach is better than people give him credit for, but like Davis said, LA Thieves is just going to be too strong. I think Hydra is the best player in the game right now, and if you don't have the best player in the game on your team, you're going to struggle against them.
Yeah, I think the Breach is going to take one map on this. It might be the control. It might be one of the hard points. It might be the search. Could be any of them. But I do think Breach is going to take a map. But ultimately, I think the Thieves are going to show up in a big way. Next one, Royal Ravens versus the Surge. Probably a closer matchup. Got to watch both of these teams this weekend. Surge didn't look great against the Ultra, and the Ravens did look great. Gwyn popped off this weekend. I expect them to come out swinging. I'll throw mine out there first. I'm going to take the Royal Ravens on this one, but I do think it will be close. Probably a 3-2. Go ahead, Davis.
I'm going to pick the exact same. I think Game 5, Carolina Royal Ravens pulls it out. I think Surge is a very good team, but Royal Ravens is rolling as well.
Yeah, I'm going Royal Ravens. TJ Halley looked really nasty.
Yeah.
And I've seen TJ for a while now on LAN. He performed well with OpTic, so I think he's going to carry that through here.
What's up? You taking Neptune?
I'd love to go contrarian on this, but I guess we're all going to be in sync on this one. Yeah, Carolina Royal Ravens, they've looked good, and I have them going a long way in this bracket.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, the Surge just did not look good against Ultra this weekend. I do not think Nasty and Neptune are really coming up. I mean, like, there's been a lot of hype, and they had a great minor, but I just don't see them, based off of their current trajectory, showing up in that environment. So that's kind of my thought as well. Next one, FaZe and Rocker. Okay, this one, I don't think will be close at all. I think the Rocker is going to take a map, but that's about it. I think FaZe is...
I don't think they take a map.
Yeah,
They're FaZe
probably a
3-0,
3-0 as well. Go ahead, Davis. What you got?
3-0 phase.
There you go. Cool. Yep.
3-0 FaZe.
3-0 FaZe.
FaZe up, baby. FaZe around
What
the
is it?
corner.
Right
We're
here?
FaZe fans on this one. Ultimately, the winner, the loser of that one is going to go play OpTic, and so hopefully the Rocker is going to get bounced by OpTic. We'll see if Sky's able to show up on that one. but we all think it's going to be a 3-0, and we think OpTic will play a rocker in the losers first round. Last one of the winners, Ultra versus Cloud9. This one's going to be close.
Yeah.
This one is going to, I think I could go either way on it. I do love Ultra. I think Kleenex has been a fire for that roster. I love Cammy. And I love Sib on the C9 side. This one's, I don't know if I can make a pick.
You have to.
I have to.
Gun to head.
I guess I'm going to go C9. I think they clutch up in the end, but I really want the Ultra to take this one, if I'm honest. So
I'm going to go with C9 as well. I think they have a lot of experience on their team with attach. They have accuracy, Sib, Mac, Crimp, whoever they go with.
Going against Lamar, I hate that.
Exactly. I think that I do think that New York will come out on top. We'll see.
We'll see. Go ahead.
This is a really tough one. I think this could go either way. The old bias in league team for me wants me to pull for Cloud9.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go for the upset this time. I think Ultra. I'll call it an upset, even though in the middle of the pack. I think Ultra will take this over Cloud9.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, by seeding, Ultra is the favorite.
By far, yeah. C9 has not. They're ninth right now. They look awful.
The problem
yeah.
I have with the seeding though is like so many of these middle of the pack teams, it's just a coin flip. So it's
Yeah.
whoever shows up.
Yeah.
And I think that both of these teams are kind of inconsistent. Ultra is a little bit more consistent. So maybe that's why I'm going with them.
Yeah.
but-
Well, I'm gonna go Cloud9 as well. I think that they're kind of on an upward trend right now, and they're gonna peak at the right time.
You're in sync, and I'm a Backstreet Boy at this
Hey,
point.
that's funny. All right. Okay. So winner for the event overall, just take one. I'm gonna go FaZe. I think FaZe is gonna pull through, take it in the end. I like the way they look right now. I love the deadly duo. I'm a big fan. Draza, I think, is going to show up. I don't know who. I don't think Thieves are going to not make it there, so I think it will be Thieves in the finals with FaZe, Thieves, and then I'll take FaZe. Go ahead, Davis.
I'm going to go off a limb right here and say the Carolina Royal Ravens. I'm a big fan of what they're doing, and they've been building and building and building. It could be their time to take a win.
I don't like that Davis is on the show now because he stole my thunder. I'm actually going Royal Ravens because I think that Ravens are gonna upset Thieves in round 2, and I think
That's bold.
yeah, and I think they're gonna go
That's
all the
bold.
way. I
Yep.
think it's gonna end up being Ravens and FaZe in the end. I'm picking Ravens purely for hometown joy. It's really hard to go against Simp ever in FaZe, especially on LAN. But Royal Ravens, they just got that like what if factor to me,
Yeah.
so I want to see them shine.
Well, you guys teed me up for it. I'll pick the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
LA Thieves. I mean, they just look poised and ready to close the deal. Like they've only lost 2 maps in this entire season so far, so it's really hard to bet against them. There's a lot of teams that look really good, but I just think they're a step above the rest.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. 100 Thieves is going to be there. I think they're really scary. Scrap's looking good right now. Ghosty, that whole roster.
Hydra's the
is-
best.
Yeah, Hydra's really fire right now, too. He's making a lot of plays.
Yeah, on paper, I mean, it's so hard to go against FaZe or
It
Thieves,
is.
right?
Yeah. It
Especially
is.
when you look at Land's performance with all these players.
Yep.
Yeah, I know we talked a lot of Call of Duty today. Our segment was a little bit longer than it normally is. We are going to switch gears to Counter-Strike, but you have anything to say on the Call of Duty predictions, picks, anything like that, throw it in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say, and we hope that you're at the event this weekend. A couple of us might be there. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, next one, ESL Pro League Season 21. Playoffs happened this weekend. Got to see Mouse, got to see Mongols, got to see Spirit, got to see Vitality, who was our winner of the event. They looked really good in the finals. The grand finals was probably the worst match of the whole thing. You saw Mouse make it there, but do they really need to make it there? Vitality slammed them down. I think somebody put in the comments that this could have been this event could have been put in an email and that would have been fine. But Mouse did not look great in the finals. Eli, what do you think? The whole event.
I mean, Mouse, I think, exceeded expectations. Even though they just came off that win, not many people had them in the grand finals in the first place. So I think it shows that they weren't just a one-hit wonder and they were capable of going the distance. But Vitality wasn't in the tournament that they won. So when Vitality's there, it's kind of obvious who's going to win. One thing that the stats showed was that counter-terrorist side was very difficult to win statistically.
Yeah.
I think the terrorist side actually has the advantage on almost every single map. However, Vitality was one of the few teams to have a greater than 50% win rate in the CT rounds. So that ultimately made the difference, and it feels like their coach just knows how to play on its CT side.
Davis, CT-sided Counter-Strike right now. What do you feel? You got to win CT.
Yeah, I agree. T is obviously proven by the stats that it's really strong. You would think that counter-terrorists would be the easier side to hold just strictly based off of holding a site versus pushing onto a site. But yeah, it's clear that the terrorist side has an advantage right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of strategy involved. I mean, back in the day, it used to be, oh, it's the T-sided map or CT-sided map. I think that conversation's really shifted these days. The strategies have evolved. Really, everyone's so good at the gunfight now that they set up the smokes. You're doing like a, like a 2-1-2, a 3-2 site hold, right? So when players start to push in on the T side, you think of natural trades, right? So now the T is the CT, right? Because you pushed in. If you ideally like it's a 5v or a 4v5, right? Because you've picked off one CT on the site push. So everyone on Vitality though was just super locked in. I mean, Apex was a star, and I love Apex just screaming across the arena to his competitors, right? Just the energy for that. Counter-Strike really surprised me, guys. We've been filming this a few weeks. I've been really estranged to the Counter-Strike scene.
Yeah.
But this event was like a really good one, mainly because of Apex. I love that energy just in the studio there with them yelling at each other.
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite team to watch this whole weekend, actually just series in general, was the Mongols Vitality series. Yeah. That nuke was really good back and forth. Mongols do end up taking it and then get swept in the Inferno, which is crazy because the last time those two played on Inferno was a really close matchup, but we're not able to withstand the pressure of the Inferno, but the nuke was so good to watch.
It was.
Eli?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like the Mongols put up a better fight against Vitality than Mouse did. So you got to wonder if Mongols are on the other half of the bracket and they face off in the finals, would they have stood a better chance than Mouse did? But yeah, I don't know. It's surprising to see. I didn't think, like, even though in these shows I've been saying, like, Mongols is great, don't sleep on them. Like, actually watching them put Vitality to the test, they even exceeded my expectations. And I'm a Mongols fan. Like, they were really putting it to them. So, I was impressed by them. I was under impressed by Donk. I thought Donk had kind of a bad tournament, which, he's only human. He's young. He's an up-and-coming player. But he certainly did not perform to the standards I think everybody was holding him to.
Yeah, that whole Spirit roster just fell apart against Mouse, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Mouse look awful against Vitality. They actually look pretty good against Spirit. Kepley, what do you think?
I think that a lot of people went into this tournament preparing specifically for Spirit. So I think that's why you could see that, right? Because it is the Donk show. This is my first impression with Donk, so I'm a little disappointed, right, from all the hype that I've seen. To me, like, is he worth the hype? And I forget the player's name where they do the Karen skits, but Magix. I thought Magix was trolling in the pregame interview, but maybe he was serious, right? That when they were doing the interview, it's like, what are the team spirits like? And he said, hey, actually, like, it really depends on how the game starts. And when Mouse started off and they got that early momentum a little bit, right? Then you were like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, this whole Spirit roster is shutting down.
Yeah.
So could be just like some weird behind the scene tension there, just on Dog being frustrated with himself. You saw the death slam, the yelling and all that.
Yeah. Mouse definitely rode the momentum of the early wins, and Spirit kind of rode the momentum down, right? It was like they just kind of fell apart, and they're a very explosive team. And so when they're able to kind of come together and actually show up, and they're ahead, like, it's scary, especially when Donk is getting those 1v1s that he wants. But ultimately, it's like, in the end, it was not enough. Mouse was able to take them down. And that was a close series. I mean, it was 2-1, so it wasn't like Spirit rolled over and died. They had some explosive moments, but ultimately was not enough in the end, which is surprising because Mouse did so poorly against Vitality for me. I don't know, Davis, standout team for you?
Yeah, Vitality was a standout team for me, but I think what you just said kind of speaks volumes for it. I mean, Vitality went into this series, dominated Mouse 2-0, got it over with. But if you look at how Mouse played against G2 and how they played against Spirit, I mean, they beat both of them, and those are two great teams. So you would think that they would be able to compete better against Vitality, but the way that Vitality was able to dominate, it just shows that maybe they're just that far ahead.
Yeah, I think this tournament spoke to that. Vitality is on a whole other league now. So now you go to the future events, right? Like, coming into this, it was, Vitality or Spirit, they're equal, right? But now we've seen that at least Vitality is a little more consistent, right, with their players. I think that Spirit will hopefully show up in the next one, but now I think the table is Vitality is above and away the best. And then you're looking at really Spirit, Mouse, Mongols, right? And you could put Na'Vi there, right? Because Navi's really good too. And then the rest of the teams, right?
Well, and then we're missing FaZe too. FaZe wasn't here. And FaZe has got that Kerrigan, Rain, all those guys, and like the explosive roster on that side too. So it's going to be really interesting. And then you have the constant disappointment of like the Falcons. Like the Falcons were here, right? Nico, Naf, all those guys. And I watched another group talk about it, and it was like, it's super disappointing that roster is where it is. I think they have a lot of potential. It's just like they're just not showing up either, which is really interesting because I think they are in the same caliber. It's just not making it to that point. So we'll see. I don't know. The player that stand out, honestly, the MVP who haven't touched it all, Zywoo, so good. He did so good, Eli. Yeah, tell me.
I mean, he looked like the best player in the world, if I'm being honest. Like, every time it was on his POV, the guy is so precise. He's so fluid with his movement. He had such a great understanding of everything that Mouse wanted to do. He was prepared for it and had a counter strategy ready. And it's like, he also knew how to work around his teammates extremely well. He would just bait his first teammate in front of him, time it perfectly so that even though the opponent saw his teammate first, he still keeps his teammate alive. Like, I don't know, just little micro things that other players aren't doing that really separated him. And he ended up having the most kills on top of that. It's like he's big braining them and slaying out. Like, he looks so difficult to play against.
Kepley, if you could have any finals to play against Vitalities, who would you pick to play to see that match?
I've really become a Mongols fan. So like even though I got them, I would pick Mongols. I mean, the biggest thing for this event, according to the analysts, was that was the first map Mongols has ever taken off Vitality.
Sure.
So we're seeing that improvement from their side. Honestly, though, man, I mean, I was just really enjoying Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
So like, I haven't watched it a whole lot, but this ESL tournament in particular, I don't know, something about it was so good for me, right? Like, I found myself rooting for different teams, like Eternal Fire, even though they're at the bottom. They had moments.
They look good, yeah.
Right. I really went into this event based off your guys' opinion. I was like, who I don't want to win? Spirit, right? Because this Dunk guy seems unstoppable.
Yep.
And here we are. Spirit falls out a little early. They are kind of a disappointment. So I got exactly what I wanted. I got some good Counter-Strike. Vitality, I'm really not cheering for them purely because they're a top dog and I don't want a bandwagon. But if Apex keeps on his train, like, I'll probably become a Vitality.
Yeah. Davis, any team to take down Vitality?
Yeah, I actually think it's Mongols as well. I think they've grown a lot. They were able to take a map off of them. But the thing that I want to touch on is when they went to Game 3, they did get dominated on Inferno, but that was their first map playing Inferno for the entire tournament. So they're fresh. Vitality had played it 1 or 2 times before. So going up against the best team in the world, and you're playing them on a map that is brand new to you for this tournament, I think it was a big ask for them to, win that map, and I could see them doing it in the future.
Yeah, and you took a dice roll in Game 1 with Ancient, right? Because that's Vitality's worst map.
Mm-hmm.
And so you almost pulled that out. If Mongols pull out that map, right, it's a 2-0 against Vitality. It's kind of crazy. So that's probably why the map draft ended up with them on something they hadn't played before.
Yeah, wild. A lot of Counter-Strike coming up for the rest of the year. Excited to follow some of these teams. Obviously, we are leaning Mongols on this specific group, but we'll see how that changes. A lot of these teams are really fun to watch, and we'll see how that changes over the next couple months. We've got a lot of cool Counter-Strike, and Counter-Strike's really front-heavy for this whole year, and so if you're excited for Counter-Strike, this is like the prime opportunity to be able to come and find which team you want to root for. But switching gears, we're going to talk a little bit of Halo. I'm going to jump right over to Eli so we can kind of give this a breakdown of the weekend.
Sure, yeah. Shopify Rebellion came out. They pulled out the repeat. So a lot of people thought that maybe last week was a fluke, maybe OpTic. We're going to study them and go back to the drawing board and come back stronger this week. But Shopify actually kind of dominated them in grand finals. So just to lay it out, on the winner's side, it was OpTic versus Shopify in the grand finals. OpTic 3-0s them in winners finals. Shopify did not look like their normal selves at all. Pick up some steam in the lower bracket, make their way back to grands, and then 3-1 in the first grand finals, and then 3-0 in the reset. So just really stepping up. Frosty had the highest skill death ratio in the tournament. This is a multi-time world champion that hasn't found his stride in Halo Infinite quite yet, but I think now with these 2 young guns, Cycle and Last Shot on the roster, he's like playing as good as the old Frosty. And that's a scary sight for the rest of the league.
I love that. Why do you think OpTic was not able to? Did they just fall apart? What did the first series look like as opposed to second and the third?
I don't know. Honestly, it felt like their timing in the winners bracket was perfect. And timing is such a big deal in Halo. If you guys are not synced up with one another or like hitting different angles and shooting the same target at the same time, like you're going to fall apart. And that's exactly what OpTic did so well in the winner's side. But then I don't know if Shopify like purposefully started stutter stepping their own timing to throw off OpTic. There's definitely some mind games going on, and OpTic were not the same team. Their timing was way better on the winner's side from what I saw.
Yeah, it's crazy to watch over the years. I mean, Royal 2 has just been so good for so long, dude. It's crazy.
insane.
At a certain point, like those Royal 1 and Royal 2 just kind of like taking everybody out way back in the day. And the fact that he's still performing in the same way that he is, because definitely a player to watch. He's been crazy, and so is Frosty. So it's really interesting to see that series go that way. And I'm curious to see how it kind of unfolds because they're going to play a lot more throughout the rest of the year. Any other things or topics on just that OpTic and Shopify series that we can touch on?
I didn't want to talk about that series any further, but I want to talk about SSG. So SSG, Lucid, Stellar, Eco, Snakebite. I mean,
Okay.
all world champion roster.
Yeah.
Pretty much like after all the crazy team changes, this was the roster that I looked at and I was like, this might actually be the new best team. Like they felt like they could put the pieces together and become the best, but so far have underperformed. But yesterday, they actually finished in 3rd place and they took Shopify to game 5. So SSG certainly on the uptick. The first time that anyone not named OpTic made Shopify bleed a little bit. So I'm curious to see if they can, continue that momentum into the qualifier.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember a couple weeks into this, you've told us that it's Shopify, OpTic, potentially FaZe, unknown red team that we all think is FaZe at this point.
Yeah.
And then SSG.
Right.
And so those 4 are still kind of in the running, and they're kind of taking maps off each other in these losers finals and winners finals and all these things, right?
Yeah, they're still far and away. It's like the top 2, massive gap, SSG, and then FaZe, and then a gap, and then everybody else. And some of these other teams, though, are starting to take games off of the SSG and better, and then SSG is starting to take some games off the bigger guys. So it feels like the competition is just getting closer and closer. And leading up to LAN coming up, we've got the qualifier next weekend. That's going to determine the final seeding for the Arlington Major, which is going to be on Easter weekend in April. So it's getting exciting.
Why is the gap so big? Is it just reps teams have put in, or players on the other teams with his newer rosters?
So in the offseason, every single team changed because Formal decided to Thanos snap the entire league and create a super roster. So I think a lot of teams are like still trying to figure each other out. Halo's such a team-oriented game. Like nobody really misses shots anymore. Like you're not going to have a massive skill disparity between players, even down to like the top 8. But the teamwork difference is where the skill gap is. And I think that players like OpTic and Shopify, like Shopify started practicing before everybody else, while a lot of these rosters were still figuring out who they were teaming with. And I think that's why they're far ahead now. But it's like everybody that's now starting to get reps in are starting to catch up. So
yeah, it's wild. I always imagine like the process for the scrimmages right now. It's like everybody's trying to scrim Shopify, and they're probably like gatekeeping them a little bit just to like make sure that they don't get the reps in until it actually matters.
OpTic is refusing to scrim Shopify.
Is it? Oh, okay, there you go.
So, and OpTic perceive themselves as the better team, which like I feel like they have the potential to become the better team.
Yeah.
But they're not there yet. So it's kind of odd that they're like not willing to scrim them. But it's an interesting dynamic right now. For sure.
Well, it sounds like there's a couple events coming up. If you're a Halo fan, there's going to be lots of opportunities to be able to watch some of that. And we'll be tracking it and following it as it comes on, especially the LANs and all these other teams. And we'll see if Shopify is going to reign supreme on the online side and the LAN side, or if another team's going to be able to pop up and go to the next. But if you have any questions, comments, things you want to talk Halo, go ahead and throw them in the comment section. Eli, I'll give it to you because you're the master. Anything Halo before we switch gears?
Yeah, last thing, the FaZe Kason Invitational is coming up. That's going to be weekend after next. And it's just going to be the top 4 teams, just SSG, OpTic, Shopify, and maybe FaZe. They might announce the roster
Unknown red
because
team.
it's a FaZe event put on by FaZe Kason, $50,000. But it'll be exciting. It'll be broadcast. It's just a one-day event on that Saturday.
Cool.
And I'll be casting it. So.
Hey,
Let's
there you
go.
go.
You'll hear
We'll
my
see you
voice.
there. Absolutely. Cool. Well, as we switch gears, we're going to talk some League of Legends. First stand just happened. We got to see all the regions go into the playoffs except for the Americas. Team Liquid did not make it there.
RIP.
That's all right. And then we saw the Flying Oysters versus KC to start us off. Goes to game 5. KC shows up in a big way, but not enough in the end because they made it through the groups, but did not actually make it to the grand finals. That was interesting. And then Hanwha makes it all the way to the grand finals on the other side pretty convincingly throughout the whole thing. Ends up winning the whole event. Kepley, HLE. Tell me more. How did they dominate this whole tournament the whole time?
I think it's just the format really favors the LCK, right? So when you remove lane swaps, LCK has always been really dominant in the laning phase, right? Each region's kind of known for their own thing, right? Like Europe's known for their mid laners, right? They have phenomenal mid lane players. LPL is known for aggressive plays, early game roaming, tower dives. LCK is known for laning. North America, we're known for sucking, right? Like everyone's got something.
You right?
So LCK, like Hanwha, they're just good players, right? Fundamentally good players. And I think the scariest thing that a lot of people watching First Stand aren't going to realize is that HLE arguably isn't even the best team in the region. And so you start to think about the global world perspective of that, right? And it's like they shown how far above the way they were against top, which is LPL's best, and that's normally your number 2 region. It's really looking grim for the future scene, right? Everyone wants to measure against LCK.
Watching these games was crazy because, I mean, that grand finals against the Oysters was like, dude, like it looked like they were just playing with their food the whole time. It looked like every single fight they went into, there was no shot on the Oysters side. It just looked.
You mean KC for the grand finals?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
sorry, Casey
There
did
you
win that series. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but Casey looks explosive at times, but ultimately it's like they just cannot be able to match up. I loved watching Ike. I think he was great. I liked watching the series. This is really the first series I sat down and watched from the League of Legends side, and I think that was impactful. But it was just crazy how HLE just kind of showed up, and the explosiveness of KC. If you want to talk to that a little bit, Kep.
Yeah, I think KC has a, I really dismissed them early on, right? You go back and watch, 2-3 episodes ago, right? I still argue, right, that they really didn't deserve to be here, but they did make the best of the opportunity, right? So they outperformed my expectations. I'm not gonna waver on that, right? But at the end of the day, their fundamentals I don't think are as locked in as someone like HLE. So HLE is just so good at continuing to build these little micro leads, right? Through stealing your jungle camp here and there, through maintaining minion farm throughout the game in all 3 lanes, right? So you start to see that even though the game looks even, right? And then you start looking at that gold chat and it's like, oh wow, how are they 1,500 gold up, right? Where did this come from? Oh, KC came and they got a pick, right? That's great. But, wow, that's weird. The gold graph, they're still really far behind. It's because of all the small nuances that are going on. You have someone like Zeus, right? And that, I mean, he's literally Mike Tyson. He's unbeatable. He's the best top laner in the world, bar none. So you just start to see that star-studded roster there, and it just starts to make you wonder, like, what team could measure against them.
Yeah, HLE just looked really strong. What really stood out to me was the way they handled the Fearless Draft. I mean, this is a huge new mechanic that's going to be throughout the entirety of this year of League, which to me is really exciting because, to be honest, League, when you watch the same players play the same champions all the time, it's like, yeah, we know you're really good with Azir, but like, what can you do with Ryze? And we're starting to see a lot of champions in a game that has damn near 200 champions. Like, I want to see more. But what HLE has done, it felt like in like game 1, for example, they're choosing champions that they know they're weaker on, and they're letting KC pick their strongest champions first because KC think, we need to pick our best roster to have a chance to beat them. But KC's like, HLE is like, well, we're just pick trash champions and then save our best to destroy you in the next 3 games. So it kind of adds like a new layer of strategy when it comes to the champion select, and I love stuff like that because that's some big brain play.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago, didn't we, Davis?
Yeah.
The whole idea.
Exactly. And I wanted to touch on what you were saying. I think HLE, like you were saying, were trying new things within their strategy because every single time they would lose a map, they would bounce back and dominate. I mean, every series they played, they only lost 1 map in each one, 3 maps for the whole tournament. So I think they were trying out some new things. Obviously lost a few matches, but I think they definitely had the confidence just to be like, okay, well, if we lose this one, we'll just pick our main champions and bring it back.
I do want to be very clear, okay, because I had to double check myself based on what he said. Okay, the game that HLE lost to KC, they did not pick bad champions. Like, they picked arguably the best top laner in the game, Rumble, right? And that's a huge power pick. Everybody wants Rumble. They picked Wukong, who's a very good jungler. Azir, one of the best mid lane champs you can have. Kai'Sa and Alistar, which is a little bit weaker of a bot lane holistically, but a good duo. That's an old fundamental pair. So like, I don't want to dismiss KC on that win. They beat them with very good champions. Like, that's anyone would have been happy to have Rumble, right? But what it does, more importantly, is you pick that. I think their roster runs deeper. So I think KC, right, they're going to need those meta picks in order to shine. But HLE's like, cool, like I can pick my 4th best champion and still smash you, right? Because we have better fundamentals.
It did feel like the longer the series went on, the bigger the gap HLE had because their roster pool is so deep. It's like Yeah, we're picking good champions, but you don't. I have 12 champions I can play at a world
Yeah.
class level. So like, good luck getting through all of them. Even by the time we hit game 5, I'm still gonna be playing like a world champion. So
Yeah, and I keep beating a dead horse with Zeus, but like, I mean, his top lane pool, he picked Rumble, Gnar, Jax, and Camille. We haven't even got to all the other things he's known for. His Aatrox,
oh yeah,
right, is
so
super scary. It's like that just keeps running deeper. So you either have to waste a ban on him. Oh, well, now you're not banning out their mid laner. Oh, guess what? His champ pool's just as deep.
yeah.
So like, and that's that whole roster there, right? That's them and all the other LCK teams. We're not even talking about SKT1, right, with Faker and all that, who arguably might be better than HLE. We're not even talking about Gen G, who have beat HLE, but did fall in the LCK playoffs, which is what put HLE here, right? There's so many good teams like that over in the LCK. I just can't stress enough that like this might not even be the peak of LCK that we saw dominate everyone.
It does feel like we're trending towards a worlds where the top 4 are all LCK. Like it's very
Yeah.
possible that we could just see it. This year might just run away with the Korean teams.
Yeah, I think that lanes really speak to that, right? That's one of the things with the whole you can't lane swap anymore, right? So I think that plays a big piece in that. But I do think that there's a hope for it's not it sounds kind of odd, but I think there's really good hope for Europe. Because Europe is known for good laning. And so I think KC learned a lot here and I think they grew. So I wouldn't be surprised to see KT again at like MSI. That's our next big international meetup. Or G2. It's hard to ever really count out G2. So either one of those teams, I think, are probably the region that has the best chance against Korea, in my opinion. And we saw that kind of here with this tournament, right? KC did better than Top, right, from the LPL, and arguably they did better than Liquid because they won another game in the finals. But Liquid took a game off of them, so I think there's hope, right, to bring them down. It's just, can you beat them consistently? And I'm looking at like North American teams like FlyQuest, right, who have a lot of diverse picks. That's how you're going to beat these Korean teams. You're not going to beat them in the normal standard laning type phase. You're going to beat them and like get in there, get scrappy, make them sweat a little bit, right? And that's how LPLs always beat them historically. Is you got to get them to play your game. You can't play their game.
Absolutely. So on that point of like America and Europe trying to fight back against the LCK and all these other different regions, how does America move, and Team Liquid specifically in this one? Like, how do they get to a point where they can actually take them off? Like, what is it just so culturally ingrained into the other cultures that it's like you can't win unless we have a cultural shift in America to be able to do this? Or is there something else we can do to be able to catch up, Kep?
I think you do need a culture shift. It's really an interesting thing to speak to because North American teams specifically go boot camp in Korea because solo queue is such a different environment. Because there, like, you go into a rank game, you're not playing to have fun, you're playing to win, right? Having a high rank elo is like something you're very prideful of. If I'm not mistaken, and this could have changed, but I think the last time I looked into it, in order to even have like an account over there, you need to like link whatever your personal identifier is. So like that is your account. Like you're not just farming it to sell because then you're kind of selling your identity, right? So that's part of that whole PC bang culture of going into these cafes. So in America though, like we see it online all the time, like, oh, my teammates are just playing rank to have fun, right?
Or trolling.
Yeah, or trolling, right? And like you don't get that over there. I'm sure it exists, but it's probably like not as apparent. At least that's how it is perceived to be. So like our version of diamond is like their gold, is what I've heard, right? Just because of the environment, the skill difference. So I think eventually we'll have to adapt that mindset in order to grow. But that's just really for like an individual player, right? From the start of your journey to the end. Now, when you're in professional play, that's a whole different thing. I don't really know how we take that higher because we've done a lot for that. We've kind of partnered, done a lot of scrims with Europe. And I think that this kind of culture shift that we're seeing from like Los Ratones with streaming your scrims and starting to learn from those strategies, I actually think that that's going to start to be the shift in dynamic because if that starts to get popular and that bleeds into something like LCK, LPL, and they start streaming their scrims, well, then we're learning from those regions what they're doing in the same way that they would be learning from us. And I think that kind of education is what we don't have behind closed doors. What makes Faker's boot camp different than anyone else here, right? Like, how is Faker Faker? I don't know.
Yeah. And like you said, because it's obviously something, because when
Yeah.
you look at the solo queue charts, I mean, their average player is so much better than the average NA player. So then when you translate that over to pro play, it's probably going to equal the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting thoughts. I don't know how NA comes on top, but I want that to happen. So whatever we can do, we will support. We hope that going forward that our American teams are able to fight back and do some great things, specifically in Worlds this year. So if you have any League of Legends thoughts, comments, concerns, go ahead and throw them in the comments down there and take a second, like and subscribe. Okay, we want to bring the esports news to y'all. We want to queue up with you. So go ahead, tell us how we can do that below. Let us know how we're doing. Tell us if you hate us. Tell us if you love us. I'm good with either. I can handle it, okay?
Yeah.
Last thing we're going to touch on really quickly, TFT Tactician's Crown happened this weekend. The one and only Dishsoap takes it down. He takes down our two-time world champion. Who was that previously? Title ended up middle of the pack, 25, 26, something like that out of the 40 players. Was not able to do the three-peat. Dishsoap takes it down for America. We love that. Okay, America fighting strong on this side. And then it gets released Cyber City. All these things, all the new set coming up. So if you're a TFT player, you're going to be excited about this new set. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty hackery. And it's always exciting to see kind of a new set and meta build within these different things. And TFT is so great, you can just throw it up on the side monitor and play it while you're doing all this other stuff. But Dishsoap second at Worlds. Eli, tell me a little bit more. How was that match as it kind of unfolded?
Yeah, so the top 8 was really interesting. It was in match point format, so you got a certain number of points for your placement in each lobby, and then once you reach a total of 20 points after multiple matches, then if you win a game, then you win the tournament. So in theory, it had the chance for this match point format to go on for many, many games, right? But Dishsoap comes out with a second, and then a first, and then a fourth, and he's already at match point going into game 4. And the whole lobby knows this, so they start targeting him, and you can definitely grief your opposition, and the whole lobby going against Dishsoap in game 4 was very obvious. They're purposefully contesting the champions that he's going for, taking the items that he wants off the carousel, but he just locks in. He kind of understood that that's what was going to happen. Next game, locks in tower defense, which is like a really risky augment to take. Gets a Firelight emblem, and then plays an off-meta Zeri reroll comp that everyone watching scratching their heads like, he's not going to win this, right? Like, this board can only get so strong. Somehow turns it into a super strong board and wins the lobby after only 5 games. The analysts were expecting the games to go much longer than that. So Dishsoap, it's cool to see him win. Like you said, he's North American. Every other game that Riot Games has is dominated by Korea and China. So for us to have one game that we're kind of looking like we have the GOAT now, it's pretty cool.
It is. Anything that you guys saw from this weekend? Well, checking it out?
Not really. I'm still trying to learn my way around TFT. It's a really cool game. And like you said, I like how you can just kind of play it and just hang out too. So I'm still learning, but it's really cool. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for Metafy lessons, I got you, man.
There you go. He's got the Metafy. Yeah, and it's so cool because I was looking at it and I was like, oh, what's heavy? A lot of times I saw brawlers heavy on some folks. I think that was kind of like this mid-tier pack where you have that good front line and you can be able to at least sustain through whatever, but ultimately your damage falls off in the end. So there's all these interesting comps that kind of show up that are great, but it seems like Dishsoap was really able to hone in and find different metas that were working, and that's why he was able to just be so dominant. I mean, winning 3 games and like just in general in that lobby is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally with the best 8 players in the world that have been playing nonstop in a game that includes a lot of chance. But like you said, he's able to find avenues where he just picks a comp that he understands its cap and how strong it can be at the end of the game, and just playing it flawlessly to just create this Uber board that'll destroy everybody else in the lobby. So it was really impressive to watch how adaptable he was.
Yeah, I love that. The set that's coming out, Cyber City, I don't know if you guys saw any of the animations of it. Some of the trailers were so cool on this. Kep, did you see any of them?
Yeah, they do a good job on those trailers and the animation. The set does look pretty neat. I like the way that they're doing the augments, right? Where they're not kind of like forcing you to take one. They're just giving you the option, like, hey, if you take this, right, it could be beneficial. But here's 2 normal options too. So I watched, I think it was Medler, right? I watched some of his Twitch stream where he talked behind the scenes about it a little bit. But I still have so much to learn with TFT. I don't know. I'd want your opinion more on that.
Yeah,
Does it look cool and innovative?
Yeah, it looks interesting. It looks like my prediction is the competitive players aren't going to like it as much because it does feel a bit more for fun and casual. There's a new dynamic called hacks where like there's just random things that'll happen. Sometimes the shop will just all be units that are good for your team. So just randomly once per round, you could just have like a god tier shop. There's like, oh sweet, I can upgrade my board super nice, right? So competitive players probably don't like that. They're like, oh, this guy just got a free upgrade because of the dynamic. But the really interesting one is with augment choices. There's different levels of augments, right? Silver, gold, and prismatic. So typically in past sets, you would only be offered like one of 3 prismatics. But now you could either pick 1 prismatic or 2 golds. So it's like 2 gold augments at the same time could be better than a single prismatic augment. And it opens up the possibility to have 5 augments by the end of the game, from what I understand. So there's going to be a lot more, I guess, like creativity involved in this next set.
Yeah, I love it. If you're anything like me, you just go onto the best website and you just pick whatever layout it tells you, and those are the champs you buy. So good luck to you in your casual and ranked games, just trying to navigate that. And I hope you have a good time and a great experience playing some TFT. We like it here. We think it's a really fun game. We think it's really cool. Congratulations to you, Mr. Dishsoap. That's amazing. One thing I do want to hit on, and this is on a general topic, so we'll kind of go into a bigger thing on just cheating and hacking in general. But ultimately, it sounds like 2 players were caught colluding in some of the lobbies, probably trying to slow down Dishsoap or some other person that was up there. And so, is this okay? Should people be able to do these things where you're kind of colluding against other players? Is that cheating or is it not? And should everybody be able to do it? Eli, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was clear collusion in the clip.
Can
Basically,
you explain it a little bit?
yeah, I'll try to explain it. So to whittle down to the top 8 in day 2, they after every 2 games, the bottom 8 of the leaderboard are cut, right? So we're going into the game right before the top 8 is declared. And there's 2 players. They happen to both be from China. And one of them is in a position where he has no chance to make top 8. He's just too far behind in points. But another Chinese player is right on the border. He was in like 9th or 10th place. And they are about to match up against each other. The game will tell you, there's a little cross that tells you who your next opponent's going to be. He sees who his opponent's going to be. He removes the items from his strongest champion. And removing items from your strongest champion is a surefire way to lose a round in TFT. And yeah, so he loses that round, which he barely lost, which means that had he kept the items on his champion, he would have won that round and eliminated that player. Ultimately, it makes the difference to where Prest Event, another North American representative, loses out on top 8 by a single point. And the Chinese player that was gifted the free win was the one that took his spot, which it's so hard to enforce in this case because you don't know if the person that received the benefit like asked them to do it or like told them to do it in a Discord call. This is an online event, it's not on LAN. So it's possible that he said, yo, can you sack this round for me so that I can get through? But it's clear, it's in the rules that you're not supposed to lose a round for any reason on purpose. You have to play your very best TFT, and it's obvious that a world-class player would have never made a mistake like that. So it's tough. I think that in general, when it comes to cheating, it's typically a case-by-case basis to decide how to enforce these different issues, but it's pretty complicated.
Davis.
The biggest thing for me is like when you look at even regular sports in any esport, you're supposed to referee these situations regardless of intent. And so my thing looking at this is like, did it happen or did it not? And clearly from the clip, as you explained to me, because I really wasn't understanding what was going on, clearly it happened and there was something fishy about it. So whenever you see that, you have to judge this without, you mentioned, did he ask for the free win or did he not? We don't know, but this happened. So I think, it's messed up regardless, and the intent of if he wanted it to happen or not shouldn't really be talked about.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kep.
Yeah, I mean, I think it shouldn't happen. I would need to understand TFT, I think, better to understand the real impact that this had on that. Because like to me, it's obvious. Like if you're gonna sack a game for someone, like yeah, you can do it subtle. But you said he almost won anyway, right? Because the units are a little random, and who they target. To me, they're random, but I'm sure other people understand. But like the easier way for that is like, oh, I want to pivot my comp. So you take your strongest champ off, right? You put him on the board, you swap him with someone else. But that feels like an easier way to make sure your buddy goes through. So I understand like your point. I agree with, right? Like the intent doesn't matter, but did he actually do that, right? Because that's a pretty serious allegation in the grand scheme of esports. So that's what I need to understand a bit better. Right, because that guy, he could have gave him that one round, but then if he's losing to everyone else on the board, he's not going to get his placement right either way.
It's tough, but like if you fully understand TFT and know the context of what he did exactly, it's like pretty obviously throwing that round on purpose. because he had an augment called No Scout, No Pivot. And the point of this augment is when you put a champion on your board, you're not allowed to take them off the board anymore. But every round that they're on the board, they get a little bit better stats. So they get a little bit more AD, a little bit more AP. So they're like late in the game, where his strongest unit has been on the board since the very first round. So its stats are astronomical, and it's the one champion that they're counting on to win them the rounds. But they take it off and then put it onto a Vi that they had just added to their board, which a world-class player would just never do. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
That was the biggest thing for me, was when he added the items back, because it's like, okay, you just took it off your strongest character, and now you're adding it back to someone who's not the strongest, and they also added it over halfway through finish with the round. So it's like, why are you adding it so late?
They actually left 2 other items on the bench, which a top player would never do that. Like, you need to place all of your items before the round starts.
So I want to devil's advocate that for you, just based on what I think I heard, make sure I understand. So the champion who's been in since round 1, it's got some more native base stats now, right? So maybe the items, while still valuable, are not as valuable, but those items could be very valuable. Like, I'm assuming that's a 1-star unit. Maybe Vi's like a 4-star, not being able to be on the board.
Yeah, it's Violet and Vi are the 2.
So you swap those items over to Vi, right? Now Vi, because she doesn't have as much native base stats, now she's got more stats, right? That could actually, like, I could argue a world just purely blind to TFT where it actually seems like he was trying to win more, right? But you from an expert opinion, right, you don't think that could be argued?
It's not possible. Not for this case, because like the comp that he was playing is an established top tier comp that relies specifically on this 1-star unit that you do specifically when you have this augment. And it wouldn't make any sense. And then, like you said, he didn't even put the items onto Vi until halfway through the round. Because I'm thinking, like,
it was the round, not the prep phase, or
not the prep.
Yeah.
Like, during
that's the
the
biggest
fight
thing for me. That's the biggest.
It was
thing.
during the fight. He waited over 10 seconds into the fight and then put the items onto the Vi, and it's like,
oh well, that changes the context. I misheard you. I thought it was the prep phase, whatever.
No. He clearly wanted to lose that.
Yeah.
So obviously, in all esports, you hate these moments in a lot of ways. I hate them as a competitor. I hate them as a viewer too.
Yeah.
And especially, or even as a TO, like having to deal with them.
Yeah. That's the part I envy the least. I don't want to be the TO for that.
But it's interesting because it's like obviously there are a lot of cheaters out there, right? There are hacks that you can buy in a lot of different games, and I think it's really impactful because it definitely messes up the integrity of the game, and it really hurts things. Like, one of the things plaguing Call of Duty right now, and it's plagued Rainbow Six for a long time, Rainbow Six Siege, is like the fact that there are hackers when you join ranked. Or like, I don't want to play ranked against hackers.
Counter-Strike.
Yeah, Counter-Strike even too. That's a big one. I've never done that before. I've never done any of those things. But I think that, when you're younger, it's like really easy to get a wall hack and kind of play around with it. And it's like, oh, why do people do this? And you use it and you're like, oh, this is pretty dope. So I did do that. Sorry, Valve. Don't come get me now. I guess I'll have to make a new account. I don't know. But then like I just said, there's lots of ways around this. And as I've grown as a person, just gotten older, I think one of the things I really like want to do is like throw the hammer at people that are in clear violation of those type of things. I think you should be innocent until proven guilty. But I think like me as a gamer and wanting to protect the sanctity of the game is like, yo, if you hack, like, ban for life. And a great example is like the Counter-Strike bros that were doing, what's it called when you throw a game? When you bet on yourself and you throw it. Fixing.
Yeah.
Match fixing or whatever to make some money or whatever. There's a group of players that essentially did that in Counter-Strike many years ago. Everybody knows about this. That doesn't happen anymore because of how aggressive they were with those players. They got banned for 10 years,
Yep.
And so like those moments, but I don't know, how do you feel about that thing, Eli? What's your stance on it?
I mean, there's 2 different sides of it, right? There's at the casual level, and then there's at the pro level, right? Like at the casual level, cheating is rampant in all video games right now. It is so accessible. It's so easy. You just literally probably could type something into Google and pay $30, and you can download all the best Halo hacks and have see-through walls and do whatever you want. Now the anti-cheat in the games is getting better to like detect these things, but then the people that develop the cheats are just getting better at getting around the anti-cheat. And it's like, you might get hardware banned if you're an idiot, but then there's people that know how to evade a hardware ban as well. They can like change the way that their motherboard is read by the software or whatever. I'm not a hacker. I don't know
it's the game, right?
Yeah.
The hackers improve, the anti-cheat improves. The hackers improve, the anti-cheat improves.
It's a nonstop loop that's just going to go on forever. But then at the pro level, I agree with you. It has to be if it's like provable that you cheated in a sanctioned tournament with money on the line, or even like points on the line, something that's like important, you should be banned for life. And this is an ongoing issue right now in Halo. There's a player named Monster that's very talented, but he cheated in other games like H1Z1.
Should you be
Was-
banned in other games?
Yeah, he was caught and admitted to cheating in that game. And he's been very sus in a lot of Halo tournaments as well, but no one's been able to prove it. It's
Sure.
just it's like we're pretty sure he cheated, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a very nebulous and difficult thing right now.
Yeah.
Power land.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you can speak maybe
And he's terrible
Kepley,
on land.
to,
So, yeah.
to the opposite side. If you are a monster in that situation, just trying to defend yourself if you were innocent, you know?
I don't believe I truly don't believe in lifetime bans for almost anything. I mean, it's got to be pretty egregious. But then game to game, I mean, it's all timeline perspective, right? So I do think that if you're cheating, H1 hasn't really been relevant in a long time, but if we use like our modern games, like if someone was playing League and they cheated on LAN and they got banned, I think they should be banned from Call of Duty, Halo, whatever, right? It should be like a global esport ban for 5 years. Now, of course, that's up to the other games to manage and maintain and have like a database of that or whatever, because that should be a punishment, right? You don't have integrity here. You're not going to have integrity over there probably, but after a certain time, people do change, right? So if Monster, if he cheated 5-10 years ago, whatever, on H1Z1, and maybe he's different now in Halo, maybe he's still cheating, I don't know, but if you do it again, right, that's a record that should follow you. Like Halo shouldn't be like, oh, you only cheated in our game once. They'd be like, you got a history of cheating, buddy, peace, right? Like now you get a 10-year 20-year ban, whatever it is, right? I think what you were talking about with Counter-Strike, I think it was Checkmate Gaming was the team that got banned with that, but it's been so long in Counter-Strike.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
Skadoodle.
And I think one of those players now can actually play again.
Yeah, recently got.
Yeah.
I want to say Brax is the name. Brax might
Yeah.
it might not be right, but there's somebody. And they were really talented, like Donk Lenville talented,
Yeah.
that got accused of match fixing, that kind of got wiped from the face because they thought he was going to be a generational talent. And so it's like, I mean, match fixing is not good, so you shouldn't do that. But it's like everyone always says on the back end of it is like, was it too harsh a penalty? It's like, I don't think so. I think so because other people did it.
I think the
Davis-
only
go
penalty
ahead,
that's too harsh is lifetime. But
Yeah,
I
I
do
agree. And like you said, people can learn, but there still has to be a punishment in place so that they do. learn.
exactly.
Yeah, stuff. Eli, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hardest part, right? It's
It is.
like I do believe people are redeemable and that mistakes they make are not fully defining their character, right? Like it maybe defines some bad judgment. It's all on a scale though, right? Like what you did, like there's some things that you can do that are like, man, you're a real shitbag and you're never going to be redeemable. But then there's, some more innocent mistakes that you can make, and maybe you can make an argument for it. But
Every Fortnite hacker, every kid. I mean, especially when you're younger too. I actually have more grace for like the younger kids,
Yeah.
like the 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, because it's like they have their whole life in front of them.
Right.
So it's really tough. Like there was, I can't remember what his name was, but there was a player that was a Fortnite player that got caught hacking for a YouTube video.
it was Jarvis, FaZe
Jarvis.
Jarvis.
Jarvis, yeah.
And so it's like he got banned from everything, and he's like, "Yo, I was just trying to make a YouTube video."
Yeah, he just thought it'd be funny. Like,
Yeah,
are you an idiot? Like,
and it's like that one I look at and it's like, that's really interesting because so they're taking the example of I want to set this person up so that he never does this because he went and found the cheats and maybe he actually linked like the cheats where they're from or like, I don't know all the details, but there could be, if I'm Fortnite, it's like, I don't love that, right? Like, but it's tough because it's like, I felt bad for the kid.
yeah.
But I understand the idea behind it. And so you're like kind of torn in this like, where is grace and where is judgment? And I think that's like one of these life lessons of like, you have to find somewhere in the middle where it's not the same every time, but you also want to be able to try and protect the thing that's holy to you, which is, hey, I want the game to be played at a fair level. So
Yeah, a lot of times people talk about how developers are out of touch, and I mean, to FaZe Jarvis's credit, right? Because he did get banned. Like there should have been some punishment for it. He went out and easily showed like, hey, I can find these hacks this easy. That brings a lot of eyes, especially with his platform, onto that. So then you're like, oh well, maybe Epic didn't know, right? Oh, this site's doing it. Well, now I can go and do a lawsuit against them, right? I can go get these hacks shut down. So doing kind of stuff like that can help the devs as much as it can hurt them.
yeah.
But the more education you get on the tools that are being used against you, you can fight against that a little better. So I don't know. I could see two sides to that coin.
The argument to that though is like, you could just tell them the site exists and not cheat yourself. Like he's ruining the game experience for all the people he played against. But I get what you're saying though. It's like the video might get more views and then more people are getting louder to like make real change that could make an impact and ultimately have like a less bad experience over time for the general population. But it's like that's one of those really tough thought experiments, right? It's like, okay, so I ruined the gaming experience for all the people that I just killed with auto aim right now, but for the greater good of making it better otherwise. But he just wanted YouTube views. Let's be real.
Well, yeah, I mean, every kid goes through it, right? Ours was when we were young, like, oh, we're going to go to Walmart. We got the cheat code book, right? I'm going to write down what these cheats are. And then when I go home and I'm playing with my dad or playing with my friends, right? Put this in and now, like, I can blow them all up in GTA or whatever, right? Or GoldenEye, right? So, like, every kid has that, oh, it's cool to cheat for a little bit, right? To have some fun.
They sold the Game Shark at GameStop.
Yeah.
You bought it to be able to beat Pokemon.
That's the difference. Is like there's a difference in cheating in a single player game where the only person who's suffering is yourself, in my opinion, because you're ruining the experience for yourself to play the game normally, but maybe you're just limit testing, I don't know. But then there's a difference if you're cheating against other people whose like experience is worse. I have no problem with single player cheating. It's like that's your decision to do.
But Pokemon, like we linked our Game Boys together and play against each other, and so like you could level up your character and then go fight people. So like that one was a little PvP driven.
Did you know there was a guy in Japan that got prison time for cheating in Pokemon?
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, he literally like made a level 99 Geodude or whatever it was, and then ended up getting prison time for doing it because he was leveling them up with hacks and then selling them to people.
Oh, there you go. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I know we could spend a while on this topic, but also keep in mind that like cheating is really subjective to the game, right? So so if, for example, in MMOs, right, Final Fantasy 14 is one that I've played a lot, or even WoW, right? There's a whole conversation of are add-ons cheating, right? Or are add-ons just making the game what it should be to the players, right?
Dude, vanilla WoW is very different than what WoW is now today because of all the add-ons. They make it a lot easier for you to be able to go through that experience.
Yeah.
It's good or bad.
I don't want to derail the show, but that's like a whole topic, right? When you start to think about
a whole episode all about this.
What is
hacking.
cheating
Hacking
defined
next episode.
as? Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll sign us off. Hey, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, get all that stuff in there. We want to know, do you think people should get lifetime bans or should we have grace, right? Should we have an appeal period where they can be able to appeal their ban every month or something like that? Put down in the chat, let us know. We'll talk more about all these other topics in the next episode, but thanks for joining us for Queued Up. We have enjoyed the conversation with you, and we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.